Welcome to Lunch with the Lord. I'm Pastor Mark. We're in James chapter 5. We're going to be starting in verse 5 this lesson. But before we begin, Jeremiah 15:16, Thy words were found, and I did eat them, and thy word was unto me the joy and the rejoicing of my heart. Now, James here is dealing with rich people who put their trust in their riches, and how God is going to judge these rich people. Now we get into verse 5, and he says, You have lived in pleasure on the earth and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. Now, the second sin mentioned about the rich is their life of luxury and gluttony. In Luke, let's read Luke chapter 16, verses 19 to 25. And I'm sure you've all heard this before. There was a rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and he fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, and being in torments, and seeing Abraham afar off and Lazarus in his bosom, and he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am in tormented in this flame. Now, this is the rich man and Lazarus, with the rich man living in luxury and gluttony, not even lifting a finger to help Lazarus. And then there's Luke chapter 12, verses 16 to 21. And he says here, verse 16, and he spake a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a rich man brought forth plentiful. And he thought within himself, saying, Well, what should I do? Because I have no more room where to bestow my fruits. And he said, This is what I'll do. I'll pull down my barns, and I'll build greater barns. And there will I bestow my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, You fool, this night thy soul shall be required of you. Then whose shall these things be which you have provided? And then verse 21, this is the stab in the heart. So is he that lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. Now we turn to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes chapter 2. We're going to be looking at verses 1 through 3 here, and in a little detail. And Ecclesiastes 2 verse 1 here says, I said in my heart, Go to now, I will prove thee with mirth. Therefore enjoy pleasure. And behold, this also is vanity. Now, he says here in verse 1, I will prove you with pleasure. Now, Solomon is not testing the pleasure, but Solomon is testing himself with the pleasure. There's a difference. Now, verse 2 says, I said of laughter, it is mad, and of mirth, what doeth it? So, laughter and pleasure outside of God results in what? Madness and emptiness. Now verse 3, I sought in my heart to give myself unto wine, yet acquainting my heart with wisdom, and to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was that good for the sons of men, which they should do under the heaven all the days of their life. So this is a determined effort by Solomon to learn what good can come from a lust for alcohol and pleasure in this life. So he set his heart. He's like, well, I'm going to take some time and just find out really what kind of pleasure is in alcohol and in pleasure. But we must understand that when worldly possessions and pleasures are the priority of a person's heart, they hide God from the soul. These things hide God. Our money, our riches, our pleasure, the alcohol, it hides God from the soul. Now, Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 9 through 17, and it says, moreover, the profit of the earth is for all. The king himself is served by the field. He that loves silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loves abundance with increase. This is also vanity. When goods increase, they are increased that eat them. And what good is there to the owners except the beholding of them with their eyes? The sleep of a laboring man is sweet, whether he eat little or much, but the abundance of the rich will not suffer him to sleep. There is a sore evil which I have seen under the sun, namely, what? Riches kept for the owners thereof to their hurt. But those riches perish by evil travail, and he begets a son, and there is nothing in his hand. As he came forth of his mother's womb, naked shall he return to go as he came, and shall take nothing of his labor, which he may carry away in his hand. And this also is a sore evil, that in all points as he came, so shall he go. Naked we came in, naked we leave. And what profit has he that has labored for the wind? All his days also he eats in darkness, and he has much sorrow and wrath with his sickness. Now, this portion of scripture is dealing with the inability of wealth to satisfy the soul. It's not possible for wealth, for riches, gold, silver, anything to satisfy our soul. As the calf is fattened up for the slaughter, so this rich people are fattening themselves up for judgment. Now, James, get back to James chapter 5, and let's read verse 6, and it says here, you have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. This is the third sin of the rich, which is that they persecute the righteous. They persecute the just man. As every lie and deception is an attack against the truth, God being the ultimate truth, so also, listen, all persecution and all oppression will end in the murder of the just one. Who is the just one? It's Jesus Christ. He is the just one. The persecution and death of Jesus Christ is relived every single day in the sufferings of God's people. Although the unsaved do not see it this way, yet Jesus said If they have persecuted me, they will persecute you. Paul said that all who desire to live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution. See that in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 12. The rich have so much. So why would they mistreat the people of God? Ultimately, it comes down to accountability to God. The reason why they mistreat God's people, they don't want to be accountable to God. God's people are a testimony to the world of their accountability to God. The rich want to be accountable to no one, only to themselves. They want to rule and to reign over their own wealth, which they think is their own. They worked hard to get it. They think it's all theirs. It's not. Once they die, naked you came into this world, you're going out naked. You ain't taking anything with you. It all belongs to God. And it says here in the last part of verse 6, and he does not resist you. And they will not resist, just as Jesus did not resist the Father's will to be condemned to death by the religious leaders. By this, they show that they are the disciples of Christ. Only God is the one who determines when the time of their punishment shall come. Listen, as Christians, we are to stand for truth and for righteousness, but we do not wage war against the unsaved. Listen, waging war against the unsaved, that's God's job. Our job as Christians is to defer all judgment to Jesus and to put our lives completely into God's hand, in full trust of God's love and care for us. In John chapter 5 and verse 22, Jesus said that the Father judges no man, but has committed all judgment unto the Son. As the world has handed out judgment to the Son and to his disciples down through the ages, the Father will let the Son do all of the judging. Have you ever noticed that the things that we pass judgment on come back to judge us? The things that we judge, eventually it comes back to judge us. So here in chapter 5, verses 1 through 6, James here is dealing with the rich people, telling them not to trust in their riches, not to abuse their riches, use their riches to abuse people, to sin with it, or to become have the riches become their idols. Because why? God is going to judge it. God is a jealous God, and he's going to pass judgment upon the rich person and upon their wealth. We're going to continue on in verse 7 next lesson, but until then, walk with the Lord. I know he walks with you.